Hello, boys and girls, and happy New Year's to everybody. Welcome to Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and yes, we have arrived to 2024. It is a new year. Is it New Year, New Me? Are we doing that this year? We do it every year. So, hey, New Year, New Me. And like every year, we are anticipating a lot. We're anticipating on bettering in ourselves. We dropping some of those vices. Maybe you want to stop smoking. Maybe you want to start exercising more. Maybe you want to start dieting. Those New Year's resolutions that last maybe 2 months. And once we get to March, all that is over with. We're back to our old selves again. But we do start off with good intentions in the new year. We have a plethora of aspirations that we have this year. Want to get rich. Want to buy a house. Want to get a car. Want to have kids. Want to do just goals that you have set for yourself looking into 2024. And we also have films that are scheduled, and we putting that in heavy quotations, scheduled to be released this year, because there are quite a few that are pushed back or rescheduled. We experienced that last year. They have a couple of films that are coming out this year that were supposed to come out last year, but we're allegedly going to get them this year. And I imagine it's going to happen again this year, pending no strikes. I know a lot of the rescheduling, I should say, happened because of the writers and the actors strike that took place last year. And it was just a mess. It was a mess. Some movies got pushed a full year. We even have a film, I think Snow White. Snow White got pushed 2 years. I think that's not coming out till 2025. We have a lot of superhero films that were supposed to come out this year, not coming out this year. We have only Deadpool 3. I guess if you want to count Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter as superhero films, fine. But those are the only ones. We were supposed to get Captain America: A Brave New World, where we saw Sam Wilson become the new Captain America. That's been pushed back to next year. Thunderbolts was supposed to come out this year. That's being pushed off. I don't even think they started filming that film. So it's just a lot. A lot has happened due to the strike, due to restructuring in certain film franchises and so on and so forth. So this is what we're scheduled with, and these are not so much highly anticipated. There are a few that are highly anticipated. These are just films that caught my eye, and I'm looking forward to seeing in some shape, form, or fashion. I really don't have a most anticipated this year. That's not why I'm not doing a most anticipated list, because quite honestly, nothing has grasped me to the point where I'm like, oh man, I can't wait till that come out. Well, one movie, just one, and we'll address that when we get to it. We're going to break it down month by month here, going over what's coming out in 2024. What can we look forward to in 2024 in the theaters and even on streaming. I'm not going to do television. This is just film releases. Beginning in the month of January, which is normally the dumping ground for Hollywood. This is where we get kind of the poo-poo movies on the film slate from studios. And look, I don't want to judge any film before I see it, but these films, at least in January and February, aren't great looking movies, but entertaining to a degree. I mean, like I always say, film is subjective. What works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. That's why we're going to go through them all. Let's start in January, starting on the 12th. We have a film from the makers of The Harder They Fall, that awesome movie that was on Netflix that starred Jonathan Majors, Regina King, Idris Elba, Zazie Beetz, everybody. That Western film that was directed by James Samuel, produced by Jay-Z. Well, they got together yet again to make another film that comes out on the 12th, and it is The Book of Clarence. And this is an epic biblical comedy drama which stars Lakeith Stanfield. And the premise of The Book of Clarence: a struggling down on his luck man named Clarence, living in 29 AD Jerusalem, looks to capitalize on the rise of Jesus Christ by claiming to be the new Messiah sent by God in an attempt to free himself of debt and start a life of glory for himself. Now, I know I know this sounds blasphemous. And I look, I get it, but it is an interesting concept because they do it now, people. This isn't like this a far-fetched idea. There are ministers, preachers, priests, all those who use the church or use the Bible to benefit themselves. So this isn't out of the realm of possibility. It's just being shown in this format. It looks interesting. We'll see how it goes. The Book of Clarence will be released in theaters on January the 12th. Our next film will be released on January the 19th, and it is ISS, which stands for the International Space Station. And this is a science fiction thriller which stars Ariana DeBose, and the film centers on a group of astronauts living aboard the International Space Station. Tensions flare as the worldwide conflict breaks out on Earth. Reeling from this, the astronauts receive orders from the ground to take control of the station by any means necessary. This looks like a very intense film. Very. Because the way the trailer sets it up, they're on this International Space Station with Russians, cosmonauts, and they're all getting along. Everybody's fine and happy and cheery. But war breaks out between the United States and Russia. So now they're on this space station and tensions start to flare. And so it just looks like the most tense situation you could ever be a part of. So I am truly, truly interested to see how this film plays out. I'm very excited for ISS, which comes out on January the 19th. Our final film in the month of January comes out on the 26th, and this is a drama which has me intrigued. Normally this wouldn't be my bag, but I like the parties involved. It stars Martin Freeman and Jenna Ortega, and it is Miller's Girl. And it just looks intense. In this film, the premise is a creative writing assignment brings complex results between a teacher and his talented student. Basically, the student is in love with the teacher, and she writes about it. He's not feeling it, and it seems like it's going to be a back and forth between those two. I wanted to see Jenna Ortega in this type of film. This is the type of film I want to see her in, to really set her on this true actress path. She's a real good actress, really, really, really good. But if she was to be considered as a great actress, these are the type of roles she needs to play. Not so much the mainstream roles like Wednesday and the Scream franchise and movies like that. We need to get in these kind of independent-ish type movies. So I like this. I like this, and I love Martin Freeman. He is a amazing actor, man. I wish he was in more. You know what I'm saying? He is just that dude. He just delivers. That's all he does. He just delivers. And I'm excited to see Miller's Girl, which will be released in theaters on January the 26th. Now we over to the month of February, and I only have two films in the month of February which caught my attention, and both are exciting for two separate reasons. Beginning on the 2nd of February, we have Argyle. Argyle is a spy action comedy directed by Matthew Vaughn, who gave us The Kingsman and X-Men First Class. Uh, I'm super excited for this. Super excited for this. In this film, we have Henry Cavill, Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, Dua Lipa, Ariana DeBose, John Cena, and Samuel L. Jackson. And the premise of this film, Ellie Conway, an introverted spy novelist who seldom leaves her house, is drawn into a real world of espionage when the plots of her book get a little too close to the activities of a sinister underground syndicate. When Adrian, an undercover spy, shows up to save her, he says, from being kidnapped or killed, Ellie and her beloved cat, Alfie, are plugged into a covert world where nothing and no one is what it seems. When it comes to spy action comedies, you had me at hello. This is my right up my alley. I am a huge Matthew Vaughn fan as well, so kudos there. All of the actors involved, amazing. So let's see how this ensemble cast comes together in this film. It does look like it could be a little confusing, but I have confidence that Matthew Vaughn can put it all together. He hasn't dropped the ball yet, even though you can make an argument about the sequels to the Kingsman. Those weren't too good. At least they weren't as good as the first one, but they weren't horrible. But I think he can. This looks interesting. This looks very interesting. So we'll find out on February the 2nd when Argyle is released in theaters. Our next film is going to be released on Valentine's Day, and it's fitting coming from the man that preached love, that showed love, the biopic Bob Marley, One Love. And this, I am all in on this. I am all in on this. About time they make a Bob Marley film. Bob Marley is a cultural icon, man. I mean, the work that he did, even if you're not a reggae fan, the person is awesome. And so I'm excited to see this. Kingsley Ben-Adir is playing Bob Marley in this film. We have Lashana Lynch, who plays his wife in this film. I'm so excited for this. This looks amazing. Once again, this is a film that was, I think, originally set to be released last year, but it was pushed back. Will it be worth the wait? We'll see on Valentine's Day. Perfect date movie to go watch Bob Marley, One Love. But we do have one more film in February, which is it's it's not on my list, but it has my curiosity. It has my curiosity. I know this film is going to be horrible. The trailer looked horrible, but for some strange reason, I want to see it. For some strange reason, I plan to be in the theater to watch this dumpster fire of a film on Valentine's Day, Madam Web. Yes, Madam Web is a superhero film based on the Marvel comics, and it stars Dakota Johnson as Madam Web. And the premise to this film, Cassandra Webb is forced to confront her past when trying to survive with three young women with powerful futures who are being hunted by a deadly adversary. I'm telling this, the trailer looks so bad. Now, a lot can happen in the next month or so, Maybe they'll release another trailer that will help me or, or give me hope that it might be worth something. But I really got no hope in this film. This looks bad, but I want to see it, man. It's like watching a car wreck. You can't help but watch the car wreck. You can't turn away, and I just gotta watch it. Sony, with their quote unquote Spider-Man universe that doesn't contain Spider-Man in it, has been horrible. Horrible. All of the Venom films, all of the what else came out of this? The Morbius. Oh my God, Morbius. I mean, just been horrible movies. Horrible. But they make money. They make money. But we'll see, man. We'll see how this go. Madam Web will be released on Valentine's Day. Will we show it some love? Will it be a loving experience in the theater? I don't know. I seriously doubt it. But we will see. On to the month of March, one of my favorite months of the year. One of my favorite 12. We have but I love the month of March because it's my birthday month, and we're starting off March with a bang. On the 1st of March, we get part 2 of a science fiction space epic, Doom 2, part 2, should I say. This has been in the making for a while too. This was originally supposed to be released last year. I know that for a fact. I think around Thanksgiving, and it was pushed back due to the strike and whatnot. And we're getting it in March. But when I sat down and watched the Doom Part 1, I didn't know it was Part 1. I thought we were just getting Doom. And when the movie came on, and it immediately lets you know it was done on purpose. The title card comes up, Doom, and then underneath it you see Part 1. And immediately my head just went, what? What? It kind of took me out of it. It really did. I had to watch it again to kind of really get into it. But I was so mad that that they were splitting it in two. But I get it because the book is huge. It is enormous. I've seen it. Haven't read it, but I've seen the book. It's amazing. But yeah, we're getting part 2 and returning in part 2. Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista. We also have Zendaya and Javier Bardem. New additions to this cast for part 2. We have Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken, and many, many more. This go around, Paul continues his journey as he seeks revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family and endeavors to protect a terrible future that he only can protect. I'm looking forward to it. It's a long time coming. Part 1 came out in 2021, so it feels like forever, but it's only been 3 years, but it's been a long 3 years. And so we get Doom Part 2 in theaters on March the 1st. Coming the very next week, we have 2 films. On March the 8th, we have Danzel. And Danzel looks very interesting. It's a dark fantasy film, and it stars Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things fame. And the premise of Danzel is a dutiful damsel agrees to marry a handsome prince, only to discover it was all a trap. The royal family recruited her as a sacrifice to repay an ancient debt. She is then thrown into a cave with a fire-breathing dragon, having to solely rely on her wit and will to survive. Co-starring with Millie Bobby Brown in this film, we have the Queen, Angela Bassett, Robin Wright, Ray Winstone, Nick Robertson. This looks cool. I saw the little teaser trailer for it. It looks awesome. And, dark fantasy, sign me up. But this will not be in theaters. This will premiere on Netflix March the 8th. Danzel. Also on March the 8th in theaters, we have Kung Fu Panda 4, which drops in theaters. This is the fourth installment, of course, of the Kung Fu Panda franchise. Jack Black is returning as Po. I am I I haven't watched the last two. I think I watched the first two Kung Fu Pandas. I have to get caught up. But I did enjoy it. I saw the trailer for this one, and the trailer had me like, whoa, this I need to get back in my Kung Fu Pandas phase. The trailer looked pretty cool. And so I'm looking forward to it. And Kung Fu Panda will drop in theaters on March the 8th. Coming on March the 22nd, just 2 days after the glorious birthday, we have a fantasy comedy, satire-ish, just I don't know how to describe it, but I'm hooked on it for some strange reason, and it is the American Society of Magical Negroes. This is an actual film. The film stars Justice Smith and David Allen Greer, and the premise of this film, the film is a satire of the magical Negro trope. Aaron is recruited into a magical society of African Americans to follow their lifelong cause to make the lives of white people easier. Sign me up. I'm all for it. I'm all for this, man. Because this, look, for everybody outside of the black community, this is a thing. This is an actual thing. And it's a real thing. There are people who walk this earth, black folks who walk this earth, whose sole purpose is to make white people's life easier, even if that means making their lives miserable. I can't make this stuff up, people. Can't make it up. And for somebody to actually make a movie based on that premise, shut up and take my money. I'm in the theater on March the 22nd to watch the American Society of Magical Negroes. Yes, you have my attention, sir. And so the very next week, we have another film that was pushed back from last year. It is none other than Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And this will be released in theaters on March the 29th. And this is a direct sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, which came out in 2021. We all know Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original films. He directed Afterlife. He stepped down this go around, but he did co-write it, and he turned over the directing chair to Gil Cannon this go around. And returning for this installment, we have Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, and Logan Kim. Also returning, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, William Arlington, who was in the very first Ghostbusters. And man, I'm all in on this, man. I enjoyed Afterlife. I think Afterlife gets slept on, man, but Afterlife was a really good installment to the Ghostbusters franchise. Really, truly enjoyed it. This go around in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the Spangler family decides to leave Somerville, Oklahoma, and go back to where it all started, the iconic New York City firehouse, and help the original Ghostbusters, who developed a top secret research lab to take busting ghosts to the next level. But when the discovery of an ancient artifact unleashed a mysterious and evil force known as the Death Chill, Ghostbusters new and old must join forces to protect their home and save the world from a deadly and unpredictable fate that unknowingly could affect Earth's history with a second ice age. Sign me up. Can't wait. This is that looks exciting. The trailer looked bananas, and the special effects looked out of this world. and I'm all for it. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire will be released in theaters on March the 29th. Moving over to April, where we kind of start easing into the summer season unofficially, but yeah, you might as well say that summer is starting in April, at least movie terms are concerned. Beginning on April the 12th, we have Godzilla Kong, The New Empire. And this is a sequel to Godzilla versus Kong from 2021. This go around, the latest entry follows up the explosive showdown of Godzilla vs. Kong with all new cinematic adventure, pitting the almighty Kong and the fearsome Godzilla against a colossal undiscovered threat hidden within our world, challenging their very extinction and our own. The epic new film will go further into the histories of these titans, their origin, and the mysteries of Skull Island and beyond, while uncovering the mystical battle that helped forge their extraordinary beings and tied them to mankind forever. I look, after last year and watching Godzilla minus one, it's kind of hard for for me to be impressed with these Godzilla films. And Godzilla versus Kong was all right, but it didn't set the world on fire. But I don't know, man. I don't know if this is gonna bring it, because the trailer really didn't do anything for me, to be 100% honest. But I mean, I it's Godzilla Kong. I'm going to see it. It looks amazing. To see these two uh rumble around on Earth, crashing into buildings and all that good stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how this go. Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, will be released in theaters on April the 12th. Coming out on April the 19th, a Netflix film. I know we discussed Doom and how that film was split in two, and I was kind of hurt by that. I wasn't so hurt by this split, but I'm not excited for part two of this. And this is Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver. And this comes from Zack Snyder. This is a part two of a film that came out last month. Well, a couple of weeks ago, technically, in December on Netflix. It was hyped up to the highest level of hypeness, with it's supposed to be a Zack Snyder take on Star Wars and all this here, and it just didn't quite get there with me. But we got to see the finished product, and I'm trying to be fair before we see the finished product, which will come on April the 19th on Netflix. Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver. Returning, we have Sophia Boutella, Charlie Hunnam, Anthony Hopkins, Jermaine Hensu, and many, many more. We shall see. We shall see. Can it be saved? We'll see. I know in between now and that film, we're supposed to get an extended version of Part 1, which makes no sense to me. But if they're going to do a director's cut, maybe it'll make more sense, and time will tell. But we do know for certain, at least I hope, on April the 19th on Netflix, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver. So the very next week on April the 26th, we have two films as well. Two different films, if you will. One being a victim of the writer strike and actor strike of last year, causing it to be pushed back to April 26th. And it is Challengers, which stars Zendaya. This is a romantic sports comedy drama, and it looks pretty interesting. When we say sports, I'm not talking football, basketball. This is tennis. Um, this is tennis, and it looks very interesting. Very interesting. If you saw the trailer for Challengers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Uh, Following a losing streak, a wife and coach of a Grand Slam champion signs him up for a challenger event where he must face off against her former lover. Ooh. And if you saw the trailer, it's really both of their. But look, it looks good. It looks good. I hate that it got pushed back because a lot of buzz coming out of the film festivals last year was surrounded around Zendaya as possible awards consideration for her performance in this film, which I don't know. It won't. I don't think it'll hurt anything this year, but they were definitely hyping her up last year before the strikes happened and which resulted in this film being pushed back. But hopefully it won't get pushed back no more. On April the 26th, we get Challengers. Also on April the 26th, we get another film that is, ooh boy, it is an epic action war film directed and written by Alex Garland, who gave us Ex Machina, Annihilation, Dread. Awesome filmmaker. And this go around, we're getting something very scary. This is probably the biggest horror film of all time. And it's not listed as a horror film, but it feels like this is something that could happen. It is none other than Civil War. And I'm not talking about Captain America Civil War. Civil War. And this is not a biopic about what happened back in the day. This is something that could very well happen in our times now. This film stars Kirsten Dunst and her husband Jesse Plemons and Nick Offerman as the president of the United States. The premise of Civil War: a family travels across the United States, struggles to survive during a near future civil war where the government becomes a dystopian dictatorship and partisan extremist military regularly commit political violence. This seems like it's so close. It's so close to happening, especially if old 45 get back in the office. This is a very scary concept, very scary, and this film looks very intense, and I'm looking forward to it. Civil War will be released in theaters on April the 26th. So that's the end of April's releases. Let's move over to May. And this is something that I am super excited for. I was a big fan of this television show back in the 80s that starred Lee Majors. And I always wondered if they would ever make a film adaptation of this show. And they did. Now this movie doesn't look like a direct adaptation of the TV show. It has elements of it, yet it looks exciting. The Fall Guy, which stars Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. This film is directed by David Leitch, who has given us, the first John Wick film, Hobbs and Shaw, Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde. The dude is an action nut. He was a former stuntman, so he knows how to film stunts. And coincidentally, this is probably a film that he was born to direct, being as though it's about a stuntman. In case you don't know what the premise of this film is, a battered and past his prime stuntman, Colt, finds himself working on a movie set with an A-list star for whom he doubled long ago. When the star goes missing and the film, which is being directed by his ex-girlfriend, is in danger of being shut down, he volunteers to investigate the disappearance and find the missing actor. I'm so hyped up for this, man. This looks good. And Ryan Gosling is on a natural high right now, man. I mean, coming off of Barbie and what was that movie on Netflix where he played the spy? He's been rolling as of late. Actually, he always has, but it's good to see him finally getting his love that he rightfully deserves. This looks amazing. This would not be a film that I would say I would Ryan Gosling would be my first pick for, but after seeing the trailer in there, I'm like, this is perfect. This is so perfect. I cannot wait to see how this plays out. The Fall Guy will be released in theaters on May the 3rd. Also in the month of May, on the 17th to be exact, we have a live action slash animated fantasy comedy film written and directed by John Krasinski, If. And this film stars Ryan Reynolds in an ensemble cast. The premise of If, which stands for Imaginary Friend, a young girl named B gains the ability to see people's imaginary friends, referred to as ifs for short, who have been abandoned by their kids they helped. B then discovers that her neighbor, the man upstairs, has the same ability. This looks cute. This looks like a cute little family comedy film from John Krasinski, who's given us A Quiet Place, which is crazy because he goes from that masterpiece of a horror film to this kitty film, but that just shows range, and I'm all for it, man. This looks really good. It looks really good, and Ryan Reynolds, I mean, can a man do wrong? Yeah, well, he can, because I've seen some movies where I'm like, why, Ryan? But for the most part, it's not him. This looks fun. Can't wait. On May the 17th, If. Now, we move on to the film that is my most anticipated film of the year. Without a doubt. I've watched the trailer for this movie at least 50 times since it was released. I am so hyped up for this. Oh my God. I'm getting teary eyed. I can't even see. I am so hyped up for this movie. On May the 24th, we get Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. This is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. And man, Fury Road was one of the best action movies ever created. Ever, people. I will fight you on that. It was one of the best action movies ever made. George Miller is a action genius. He is a mastermind, and he knows the Mad Max franchise. Well, I mean, he's the only one that's made those films, and even beyond Thunderdome, which was probably the weaker of the Mad Max films, still have elements that is amazing, that is quotable, that you still enjoy. And to come back all those years later and give us Mad Max Fury Road, the movie got nominated for Best Picture, people. An action movie, that's rare. That never happens. And it happened. And one of the mainstays, one of the standouts of that film was Charlize Theron's portrayal as Furiosa. And immediately after the film's release, it was announced that they were going to do a prequel to Furiosa. And I was like, please, let's go. Let's get it. Now, Charlize Theron would not be returning, being as though this is a prequel. We're getting a new actress, and an amazing one as well. Anya Taylor-Joy takes over the role of Furiosa. Also in this film, we have Chris Hemsworth as the villain in this film. It looks amazing. Like I said, I watched the trailer a million times. In the premise to Furiosa, as the world falls, young Furiosa is snatched from the green place of many mothers and into the hands of the biker horde led by warlord Demetrius. While two tyrants war for domination over the Citadel, Furiosa survives many trials as she plots a way back home through the wasteland. May the 24th cannot come soon enough, and that's when we will get the release of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. But that won't be the only thing dropping on May the 24th. And sadly, this is also one of my most anticipated of the year. And they're just so happen to be coming out on the exact same day. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yes, the science fiction action film, this time being directed by Wes Ball. This takes place 300 years after the events of War for the Planet of the Apes. Ape civilization have emerged from the oasis to which Caesar led his fellow apes, while humans are regressed into a fetal state. When the ape leader, Proximus Caesar, perverts the teachings of Caesar to enslave other clans in search of the last trace of human technologies, Noah, a common chimpanzee, embark on a narrowing journey alongside a young human named May to determine the future of apes and humans alike. I'm in, baby. This is gonna be one of those weekends. I'm gonna be in the theater because I'm going to watch both. Just like last year when we had Barbenheimer, when Barbie and Oppenheimer came out on the same day, we're gonna have that same affliction on May the 24th when we get Furiosa and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes being released simultaneously. Moving on to the month of June. June the 7th, we get a spinoff of a beloved action franchise, the John Wick franchise, to be exact, Ballerina. Ballerina is directed by Lynn Wiseman, who gave us the Underworld films and Live Free or Die Hard. Pretty cool director. Ballerina will take place between the events of John Wick Chapter 3 and John Wick Chapter 4. Ballerina assassin Roni hunts the murderers of her family, and starring in this film is Ana de Armas, Angelica Houston, Gabriel Byrne, Lance Reddick in one of his last performances, Norman Reedus, who we all know as Daryl from The Walking Dead, and there is rumored, it hasn't been confirmed, but there's rumored to have a Keanu Reeves cameo in this film as John Wick. And so, I mean, Ana de Armas, when they first announced this was before No Time to Die. This the James Bond film came out, and I was like, Ana de Armas? I can't see it. And then she popped up in No Time to Die, and she was only in one scene, but she made an impact in that one scene. She handled the action and everything. I was like, oh man, okay. When is Ballerina coming out? That was my immediate reaction. So my question has been answered. Ballerina will be released in theaters, hopefully on June the 7th. Also on June the 7th, this is a film that I don't know much about, but it has my interest. It has my curiosity. It is a supernatural horror film directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan. Yeah, his daughter. M. Night Shyamalan's daughter is making her directorial debut in this horror film. Like I said, don't know much about it, but I'm interested to see how Daddy Little Girl does in with this material. The premise of The Watchers: 28-year-old artist Mia gets stranded in an expansive, untouched forest in Western Ireland. Upon finding shelter, she unknowingly becomes trapped alongside three strangers who are watched and stalked by mysterious creatures every night. This film stars Dakota Fanning and Georgina Campbell from Barbarian fame. This sounds interesting. I haven't seen anything about it, no promotional stills or trailers or anything, but it sounds interesting. And we had the added factor of Ashana Night Shyamalan directing this film. She also wrote it as well. And so let's see. We'll see how she does. Will she fall in that same trap as her father? Because her father is an awesome director. And so he's had some hiccups, but he's an awesome director. And so we'll see how this goes on June the 7th. Moving over to June the 14th, we have two monster films coming out that, oh my God, once again, it's going to be heads or tails, or we're just going to go ahead and watch them both, which 9 times out of 10, going to watch them both, starting with Bad Boys 4. Yes, everybody, they're back. This is the buddy cop action comedy that stars Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. This is the fourth installment in the franchise. There's no information that has been released yet surrounding this film as far as the premise is concerned. I really don't care what the premise is. I'll be there. I've seen all three previous Bad Boys films in theaters. I'm not going to stop now. I absolutely love this franchise, and I can't wait. Can't wait for June the 14th. But also on June the 14th, we get another sequel that, I mean, I can't wait for either, this because I love the first one so much. It is so heartbreaking and funny. Everything that Pixar does, it'll tug on your heartstrings, and Inside Out did that for me. And now we're getting Inside Out 2, the Pixar animated film, and Inside Out 2 returns to the mind of newly minted teenager Riley just as headquarters are undergoing a sudden demolition to make room for something entirely unexpected, a new emotion. Joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, who long been running a successful operation by all accounts, aren't sure how to feel up when anxiety shows up. And it looks like she's not alone. This looks good. This looks amazing. Especially dealing with anxiety myself. So I know that a lot of teenagers, this is what they go through. And I know because I was one at one point in time. So this is a new element. And look, the first Inside Out handled the emotional roller coaster of adolescence so well. So it's going to be exciting to see how they handle the teenage version of this character on June the 14th. And to round out the month of June, on June the 28th, we get a prequel. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the prequel to the Quiet Place franchise. We get A Quiet Place Day One, which is a post-apocalyptic horror film. This time we don't get John Krasinski as the director. I guess he was off busy making If. This go around, Michael Samosky takes over the directing chair, and we get Lupita Nyong'o joining the cast, as well as Joseph Quinn, along with Jamin Hensu. And as I said before, this is the prequel to the franchise, which will focus on day one, when all hell broke loose. So maybe we'll get the origins of those monsters and where they come from and why they're here and whatnot. So even if we don't, as long as we get a good movie, I'm happy. And so on June the 28th, we get A Quiet Place Day One. Moving over to the month of July, we have a sequel that was a million years in the making, it feels like, and it is none other than the sequel to the 1996 just phenomenon, a guilty pleasure of all guilty pleasure films, Twister. We get Twisters, which will be released in theaters on July the 19th. This go around, we have Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos, and many, many more in this cast. And they haven't released the premise of Twisters, but I can guess there are going to be multiple Twisters. There will be multiple tornadoes in this film. I don't know how it's going to work, but I loved that first one. A lot of people do. Who didn't love Twister? It was just one of those movies. Plus, you had Bill Paxton in there, and you had who God rest his soul, was just money. He couldn't do no wrong in my eyes. But this go around, it looks like there's a new team, new threat, new everything, and we'll see how it goes. Twisters will drop in theaters on July the 19th. Coming a week later, we get a highly anticipated sequel here, Deadpool 3. And this is the only film in the MCU that will be released this year, coming off of previous years when we got multiple MCU films. Finally, this go around, we only getting one. And this is one that I don't want to jinx it and say it should be a surefire hit, but it should be a surefire hit. I mean, Deadpool as a character is so amazing, going back to the comics. And when we venture off into the films with Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson, I mean, he was born to play this role, and both films were pretty good. I often describe the first Deadpool as the best superhero film ever made, best comic book uh, adaptation ever made, because it was so comic accurate. Everything about it was comic accurate. The second one, not so much. Even though I enjoyed the second one, it didn't have the same pop as the first one. But this go around, we get Sean Levy stepping into the director's chair for this installment, with Ryan Reynolds returning as Wade Wilson, of course, and Hugh Jackman returns as Wolverine. Not as a cameo, but he is a part of this film. And multiple other cameos have been rumored. Jennifer Garner returning as Allegra, and we supposed to get more of the X-Men characters from the 20th Century Fox films. It's supposed to be a whole like cleansing of the Fox X-Men and moving into the MCU proper. So this, I think this is geared up to be probably the biggest comic book film to come out since Endgame. At least that's my hopes. I think it will achieve as well, because of all who are involved in this film. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I can't help it, because I truly enjoy these films, and I truly enjoy Ryan Reynolds as this character. And to add Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, to finally get that pairing on the big screen, man, I can't wait. Deadpool 3 will drop in theaters on July the 26th. Now we move into the month of August, and we talked about Ashana Night Shyamalan and her dad, producing her first film and whatnot. Well, he has a film himself coming out this year, and it is called Trap. And this go around, we don't know nothing about it, other than the fact that Josh Hartnett is starring in it. There's no premise, there's no anything surrounding this film, which is cool. That's par for the course when it comes to M. Night Shyamalan films. We know nothing about them, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll see on August the 2nd what Trap is all about. So moving over to August the 9th, a film that feels like they they made this movie like 5 years ago, and is finally getting a release date on August August the 9th, and it is Borderlands, directed by Eli Roth, who is fresh off of Thanksgiving from last year, the horror film, which was sneaky good. I would say it was pretty good. Borderlands is a adaptation of the popular video game series, and starring in this film we have Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Bobby Lee, and Jamie Lee Curtis. And the premise of Borderlands: Lilith, an infamous outlaw with a mysterious past, reluctantly returns to her home planet of Pandora to find the missing daughter of the universe's most powerful SOB, Atlas. Lillian's formed in an alliance with an unexpected team. Roland, a former elite mercenary now desperate for redemption. Tiny Tina, a preteen demolitionist. Craig, Tina's muscle-bound, challenging protector. Tantus, the scientist with a tentacle grip on sanity. And Slaptrap, a wisecracking robot. These unlikely heroes must battle alien monsters and dangerous bandits to find and protect the missing girl, who may hold the key to unimaginable power. The fate of the universe may be in the hands, but they'll be fighting for something more: each other. I've never played the video games, but as of late, we've been getting some really good video game adaptations, especially in the last year. And so, fingers crossed for this one. Borderlands will drop in theaters on August the 9th. On August the 16th, people, we are getting yet another Alien film. Yes, this go around, we get Alien Romulus, and it is directed by Freddie Alvarez, who gave us Don't Breathe and the Evil Dead remake from a few years ago, not the one from last year, but one from a few years ago. He's directing this film, and it is the 9th installment to this franchise, even though it's a standalone film in the franchise, so they say. But it is set between the events of Alien from 1979 and Aliens from 1986. So this will be this is more or less Alien 1.5. And so we'll see how this all comes together. Alien Romulus was initially set to be released on Hulu, but after Hulu learned from their mistake of not releasing Prey, the Predator prequel in theaters, which came out 2 years ago, I believe, and it was amazing. And they missed out on probably a big box office return for that film. They quickly changed their minds, and Alien Romulans will drop in theaters this August, on August the 16th. I can't wait for this. This looks good. Looks good. And so let's move on to August the 30th. We get a film that was initially supposed to be released in 2023, but was pushed back, of course, because of the two strikes that was going on in Hollywood. It is another film that's in the Sony Spider-Man universe that doesn't have Spider-Man. It is none other than Kraven the Hunter, which stars Aaron Taylor Johnson and Ariana DeBose, Russell Crowe, and many more. This the trailer for this film dropped months ago in anticipation for it being released in, I think it was supposed to come out in August of last year. But yeah, the trailer looked interesting. I'm still baffled by Sony's dedication to turn these villains into quote unquote anti-heroes, and try to make franchises out of them. It's ridiculous to me. I don't know why they're doing it. But Kraven is a anti-hero at its core, but we'll see how this go. We'll see how this go. It does look cool, but they all look cool. That Morbius trailer looked cool, the first one, but we know better. Anyway, we'll find out on August the 30th when Kraven the Hunter will be released in theaters. Now we get to the point of the year where almost every film is either a sequel, a prequel, or a remake. And it's going to be, for the rest of this slate here that I have now is crazy. Starting in the month of September, on the 6th of September, we have a sequel to a film from 30 years ago, it feels like. It is Beetlejuice 2. Yes, everybody, Tim Burton returns as director of this fantasy horror comedy. Also returning, you guessed it, Michael Keaton himself will be returning as Beetlejuice. Renona Ryder also is returning. Catherine O'Hara is returning. Joining the cast, we have Jenna Ortega and William Dafoe. No details have been released as far as the synopsis of this film. Doesn't matter. all I care about is Beetlejuice. All I care about is Michael Keaton returning as the character. And for everybody who says, "Man, Michael Keaton's too old," he's gonna be on the makeup, people. And so it doesn't matter. It's Michael Keaton. Who cares? I can't wait to see this, and we only have to wait till September the 6th to experience Beetlejuice 2. On September the 27th, we get another sequel, and don't know much about it, don't know anything about it. It was just announced that the sequel to this film will come out on September the 27th, and it is the 11th, yes, you heard me right, the 11th film in this franchise, Saw 11. It will be released on September the 27th. Look, whatever. I enjoyed Saw X or Saw 10, whatever you want to call it. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. But was I clamoring for another Saw? No, not really. But it doesn't matter because we're going to get it on September the 27th. We move over to October, and Lord have mercy. Oh, man, I'm scared and I'm excited at the same time for this film. This is the sequel to the Academy Award winning film Joker 2. I'm just going to call it Joker 2 because the actual title is in French and I'm not even going to try. But Joker 2 is a musical thriller. Yes, this go around, they're flipping it and making it a semi-musical as well, returning in his Academy Award winning role of Joker is Joaquin Phoenix. Joining him on this musical journey will be Lady Gaga, who will play Harley Quinn. Perfect cast. This is perfect. I can't wait for this. Zazie Beetz is also returning from the first film, and Todd Phillips is returning as director of this film. No details have been given other than the fact that it's a musical and Lady Gaga will be playing Harley Quinn. Take my money. And there you have it. I am bucked up for this. Super excited. Absolutely loved Joker. Even though Batman didn't have a part in it. Bruce Wayne did. Thomas Wayne did it. But not so much Batman. But didn't care. It was that good. I want to see how they plan to up the ante or the craziness and the insanity in this sequel on October the 4th. On October the 18th, we get the sequel to, I guess you could say, a surprise hit from a couple of years ago, Smile 2. And no information has been released about this film as well, but it was a surprise hit, and it was a no-brainer that we were going to get a sequel to this film, and we will receive it on October the 18th. Smile 2. On October the 25th, oh man, we're going to get a kind of a reinvention of a Universal monster, and I'm not going to be judgmental because The Invisible Man was amazing. The Invisible Man was amazing, and it wasn't your typical Invisible Man from the 60s, you know what I'm saying? It was a new invention that starred Elizabeth Moss and directed by Lynn Warnell, and he returns to direct this film. Originally, Ryan Gosling was going to be the Wolfman, but he had to drop out for scheduling issues. But Uh, we'll see how this go. I have faith in Lin Wynell. He did such a amazing job with the Invisible Man. We'll see how this go. The premise of the Wolfman: a man becomes infected by an ancient curse after he is bitten by a werewolf. Yeah, we all know that. That's the only information they gave. Blumhouse is producing this film, so it we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. It comes out around Halloween, so maybe we'll get that Halloween feel for the Wolfman on October the 25th. Moving over to November, we have two films in the month of November that both of these films I'm not really caring about so much. And I know that's kind of harsh to say, but I really don't. Reason being, I don't think we need these two sequels. One, we don't need because it's bad. The first two films bad. The other one is, how are you going to do it? Starting on November the 8th, we get the sequel, well, at least the third film in this franchise. Yet again, another Sony Spider-Verse film with no Spider-Man. We get Venom 3. And the first two Venom films, well, the first Venom film made $1 billion, I believe. And the second one, Let There Be Carnage, was just so, it's just so bad. Yet still, it made enough money to justify yet another addition to this franchise. Tom Hardy returns as Eddie Brock, Venom. Also joining the cast, we have Juno Temple, Chachiwetel Ejiofor, and I don't know what this particular installment is going to be about. But man, look, it is what it is. I went and saw the first two in the theater, so I guess I'm legally obligated to watch this one as well. I like Tom Hardy, and for Tom Hardy to be a part of this franchise is just mind blowing to me. But hey, it is what it is. Venom 3 on November the 8th. Moving down to November the 22nd, just in time for Thanksgiving, we get a sequel to a film that nobody, and I mean nobody in their right mind, thought that we would ever get or ever needed, and that is Gladiator 2, the sequel to the 2000 film that starred Russell Crowe. I don't understand. I don't understand. No, Russell Crowe is not in this film, because if you've seen the first Gladiator, you know why he's not in this film. But the premise to Gladiator 2, after being saved by Maximus in Gladiator, Lucius, the nephew of Commodus, is now a grown man. That's the whole premise to the film. This film has Ridley Scott returning as director. In this cast, we have Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, Joseph Quinn, Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen returning from the first film. And I don't know how they, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. The only thing that had piqued my interest is Denzel Washington. It's the only thing. What role is he playing? You know, so we'll see how this turns out. Will it just be a cash grab to put Gladiator 2 on it, or could they have called it something else and have nothing to do with that film? The only way to find out is to go to the theater on November the 22nd. Gladiator 2. Moving down to December, our final month of the year, and we have a few films coming out in December that are interesting. Starting on December the 13th, we have the untitled Karate Kid film. We get another Karate Kid, and this is interesting because we are blending the kind of two Karate Kid franchises with Ralph Macchio and the Jackie Chan film that came out a few years ago, and blended them together. Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan will be starring in this film. That's all we know. And coming off the uh, excitement of Cobra Kai and how that has took the world by storm, and uh, a new appreciation for the Karate Kid franchise, let's see how they wrap this all up in this big crossover Avengers style film. We will see on December the 13th, the untitled Karate Kid movie. On December the 20th, we get a prequel to a film that had me so upset. Um, not the original, but the remake, The Lion King. That remake from 20, what was it, 19? The kind of animatronic, well, not animatronic. What's the word I'm looking for? Photorealistic adaptation. Well, we're gonna get the same version here, but I didn't like that 2019 version because it was the exact same film. I mean, it was nothing new. At least this go around, we get a brand new story. Mufasa, the Lion King, and this is the prequel to that film. And this go around, the prequel is about the rise of one of the greatest kings of the Pride Lands. This go around, Barry Jenkins is directing this film. You have Aaron Pierre taking over for the role of Mufasa, Calvin Harrison Jr. as Scar, Seth Rogen returns as Pumbaa, and Mufasa the Lion King will be released in theaters on December the 20th. Also on December the 20th, we got a sneaky good franchise, at least a sequel to a secret good franchise. The third film, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, being released on December the 20th as well. This this has turned into one of the fun go-to film franchises, man. I love the first one. I enjoyed the second one. Adding different characters throughout it. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is like, man, he's doing God's work. I don't think he's returning in this particular film, but yet and still we're getting Sonic the Hedgehog. And we also got teased that Shadow will be appearing in this film. So it's a wait and see game. Let's see how this turns out. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 being released in theaters on December the 20th. On Christmas Day, we have not one, but two horror films being released in theaters. Yes, horror films. The untitled Jordan Peele film, which we know nothing about yet again. Jordan Peele doesn't release anything about his films. We just have to wait and see, but it will be released on Christmas Day. And Nosferatu, the remake of the classic vampire film from what, the 20s, the 30s, whenever it was. But this go around, Roger Eggers is directing. Bill Skarsgård is taking over the role of Nosferatu, which will be interesting as well. But yeah, Christmas Day, that's when those films. We're going to celebrate the birth of Christ with two horror films being released in theaters on Christmas Day. And so those are your films slated release dates, at least. Now, I have 4 films that don't have a release date, but are announced to be released in 2024. Fingers crossed. So we will wait and see. Our first film is The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And this film stars Henry Cavill, Adam Richson, Henry Golden, Carrie Aries, and many, many more. It is directed by Guy Ritchie. And the premise of The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, billed as a true story about a secret British World War II organization, the Special Operations Executive, founded by Winston Churchill. Their irregular warfare against the Nazis helped to change the course of the war and give birth to modern black ops. This film is slated for a 2024 release. No date has been set, but whenever it comes out, it has my undivided attention. Uh, the next film that doesn't have a release date is a sequel to a film that caught me off guard when it came out in, what was it, 2018, Den of Thieves. This time we get Den of Thieves 2, and Den of Thieves was kind of like the poor man's Heat, if you will, but it was good. It had Gerard Butler, O'Shea Jackson Jr., what's his name, 50 Cent. All of them was in it, and I actually enjoyed it. And we get finally getting a sequel to that film. The premise of it: immediately following the events of Den of Thieves, Sheriff Big Nick O'Brien, portrayed by Gerard Butler, is tracking down Donnie Wilson, portrayed by O'Shea Jackson Jr., who escaped to Europe and is planning another heist. I, I'm all in, man. I let's see where this takes us. I'm telling you, that was a sneaky good film. If you haven't checked out Den of Thieves, you are missing out. It was a real good movie. It was good enough to get a sequel. So there you have it. Our next film is a film that, out of all of these rescheduling and pushbacks and all this here, this hurt the most because it got pushed back and it doesn't have a date at all. It was originally supposed to come out in March. Actually, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire took that date since it was pushed back due to the writers and actors strike. But it was my favorite film of last year. And this is the sequel to that film, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. I don't know why this hasn't had a release date attached to it yet. This was an amazing film last year, at least Across the Spider-Verse was, and the anticipation for Beyond the Spider-Verse is is giant. It is huge, and we don't know when this is going to happen. But I need it to happen. It happens soon. And the final film of 2024 that I'm anticipating that we don't have a date for, but it will come out around summer, they said, but no actual date. It is the long awaited installment, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. Yes, everybody, Eddie Murphy is returning as Axel Foley in this installment. The trailer looked amazing. It looks it looks like the old school Beverly Hills Cop, not that part 3, man. Take that part 3 and throw it in the trash. But this looks like it has remnants of the original that came out in 84 and part 2 that came out in 87. And Eddie Murphy, of course, returns in this film. After the death of an old friend, Detroit Police Lieutenant Axel Foley returns to Beverly Hills to investigate corruption within the Beverly Hills Police Department with his estranged daughter and her ex-boyfriend. Joining Eddie Murphy in this cast, you have Jordan Gordon-Levitt, Taylor Page, Judge Reinhold returns, John Ashton returns, Paul Reiser returns. Kevin Bacon is an addition to this franchise as well. I am so excited for this film. I hope and pray it doesn't let me down. I was super hyped up for the sequel to Coming to America, and that turned out to be a dumpster fire. But I have hope that this film can give us the Eddie that we know and love. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley is slated for a summer release, and I can't wait. Those are your anticipated films to come out in 2024. Trust me, there will be a lot more to be announced throughout the year, you know, on streaming services and whatnot, and some that I'm probably missed, but trust me, we will be on top of it over here. I'll let you know, but those right now are my highly anticipated films. And so I would like to know, which one are you looking forward to in this new year. I'd like to know your New Year's resolutions. If you have any, let me know by emailing the show kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also contact the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network, as well as YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to movie goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this list of highly anticipated films of 2024. Once again, Happy New Year. I pray that everybody has a prosperous year. Do twice as great as you did in 2023. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.